Veterans. Have you ever wondered how two veterans with similar evidence can get completely different outcomes? As a former VA rater, I've seen firsthand how interpretation of VA regulations can impact a VA disability rating decision. In today's video, I will answer the question: do raters, VSRs, DROs disagree sometimes when it comes to the VA regulations? What happens? And I will provide you a couple of examples when veterans are caught in the middle. You definitely don't want to miss this video. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, United States Army veteran, retired VA rating specialist, and your VA claim nugget man. Before we dive in today, make sure you go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. And don't forget to pick up my new book, The VA Compensation Blueprint. It's time to win. The link is in the description section. So, today's video: do VSRs, RVSRs, raters, and DROs sometimes disagree when it comes to interpreting VA regulations? And the answer is yes. Yes. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does. How do I know? I've disagreed with some VSRs that did development for me. I've disagreed with other raters on my team as it pertains to a particular veteran's claim, and then the veteran is caught in the middle. So what happens? The best way that I can explain this is Pre-VBMS, Veterans Benefit Management System. That's where your claims file is housed, and everyone goes in and does the development and rating decisions in VBMS are. Okay. So pre-VBMS and post-VBMS. Pre-VBMS, we use a system called RBA 2000. I didn't like it. It was a lot of typing, and it didn't alert you to certain things that you can grant like VBMS did. Okay. So, an example: we all know for SMC, especially monthly compensation, S, housebound, the veteran has to have one disability at 100% and other disabilities totaling 60% or higher. Well, about a year or so after VBMS came out, it had that function, and it would tell you, hey, the veteran has a single 100%. You got to take issue with SMCS. RBA 2000 didn't have that. So also when we were using RBA 2000, it was paper files. So I get a rating, and it wasn't for, I think it was like a review for maybe IU or something like, I can't remember. IU, I was reviewing something. I wasn't rating something, but I was doing something else in that particular claim. And I went back to look at the code sheet to verify some information. And I noticed a rater on my team that did the rating, but I also noticed the veteran had a single 100% and other disabilities totaling 60% or higher. Just caught it by chance. But on the rating code sheet, there's a section just for SMCs, and I didn't see any SMC. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I went back, and I was like, oh, they forgot to grant housebound. Okay. So it was an individual that was a VSR first, and then they got promoted to a rater. I waited on them to come in, and I said, hey, I'm taking issue with this particular EP over here. I noticed you did the rating, and the rating hasn't went out yet. You didn't grant housebound. She was a new rater. She said, I didn't have to. I'm like, and I gave her that example. I'm like, yeah, according to the regulations. She was like, nah, I don't think so. They didn't teach us that in training. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Am I missing something? So we went and found a DRO because our desk wasn't too far from appeals. And whenever you go and ask a DRO or somebody in QRT, I always went to somebody I knew. And sometimes I would email them first or call their extension because they're on production quotas as well. And they're head down and they're in that file like this. You really don't, sometimes you really just don't want to walk up and be like, hey, I got a question, because you'll break the concentration. Okay. So we found a DRO that I believe she knew. We went up, and the DRO said, yes, you got to grant SMCS. So that's a quick example of when we disagree. Now, you may be saying, well, Dwayne, why is that important? Remember I said pre and post VBMS. VBMS later on will give you an alert. If I didn't see that in the rating code sheet for whatever reason, and I just barely saw it, right? If I didn't see it, the veteran would have lost out on that money. She could even got a quality error. Okay. But what if it didn't get pulled by QRT, quality review team? The vet could have went years and somebody could have missed it. Now, the good thing about this was the rating hadn't went out yet, because we would have to print off the rating in blue and put it on top and get the VSO's signature. Okay. So I hadn't went out. So I said, hey, either I can call a CUE on it or you can just redo it. You're not going to get any additional production points because you already got the initial production point, but you'll get the production point actually for granting the SMC. Yes, because she didn't grant it initially, so she would have got an additional production point for that. Or you just want me to call a CUE. And she was like, give me a few minutes and I'll go ahead and make the change. I'll bring the file over to you and you can finish doing what you need to do. All right. So that's a quick example of one quick example I'm going to provide that we disagree, but it was an easy fix and we didn't get into an argument or anything like that. Okay. So now we come post VBMS. VBMS is online and we're cooking. Okay. And all raters at St. Petersburg Regional Office, that's where I worked at. Initially, VBMS was not working on a national work queue. And what I mean by that, before VBMS, I want to say maybe the first 2 or 3 years of VBMS, you were assigned a digit. Okay. And that's what you work. So 7 times out of 10, if your last 2 digits of your social security number is 08 and you filed a claim, 7 times out of 10, I probably touched that claim because that was my digit for years, 08. Okay. But the quality review team, we would only work the claims here in Florida. And our quality review team will pull 5 rating decisions randomly a month and say, yep, it's good to go, or you missed this, or you missed that, whatever. Okay. But we started noticing a lot of disagreements when they came out with the national work queue. Now, what did that mean? A QRT rep in Seattle, Chicago, Boston could pull one of my rating decisions, review it and say, hey, you got the effective date wrong. You have service connection wrong. You should have granted, you should have denied, or you got the percentage wrong, or you granted or denied based off a piece of evidence. You should have used it or you shouldn't have used it per this particular regulation. Now, I know that may sound confusing. So the example I'm going to give you is going to help you understand. So the huge topic is DBQs, Nexus statements. Okay. So a lot of us at St. Pete, we were trained to rate a certain way. I don't know if they still do it. We had to go to Baltimore for 2 weeks, get the initial training, come back, finish out our training. And this is where the training gets a little bit different because someone in Waco can interpret a 38 CFR a certain way opposed to someone in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we noticed this because when we went to the national work queue and other regional offices, they started reviewing our work. We were in a meeting one day and people were like, hey, we started complaining like, hey, I got an error for this and it got overturned. I got an error for this. It got overturned. So whenever you get an error, you have to basically rebuttal it. And a lot of them were getting overturned. We was like, hey, we noticed, I'm not going to say the regional office, when they pull a quality review, we get an error, but we get it overturned. And that was happening a lot. Okay. And it would take some time. Guess what? The veterans caught in the middle. But the good thing about it, they were getting overturned because a lot of them were grants, had a higher percentage based off the evidence. So DBQs, I never forget it. I get a DBQ, and we've talked about this. We've talked about it. Get the DBQ. The veteran lives here in Florida. Veteran goes to Puerto Rico, gets a DBQ completed. Sometimes they were in Spanish. If they were in Spanish, we would have to give it to someone that could speak Spanish. Okay. But this one was written in English. It was actionable and sufficient. I grant the benefit without a CMP exam. So another regional office, not St. Petersburg, another regional office QRT team. I'm not going to say the name of the regional office. I know what it is, but I'm not going to say which one. I get a quality error. I'm like, oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Not happening. So I go to someone I knew on our quality review team, and I say, hey, you got a minute? They said, yeah. And I explained, I showed them the file, I explained to them. The veteran had an actionable and sufficient DBQ. I think they had a Nexus too. I use it. I got this error. Here's the error. And I'm basing off this particular regulation. The quality review person looked at it. They said, you were right to grant the benefit, even though they're more than 100 miles away. All right. I was able to do it. I got that that review overturned. Okay. But just like I tell veterans, when it comes to high-level review, you have to know these 38 CFRs and these M21-1s that you're going to use to argue your case. Same way when you get these quality reviews and you are rebutting them, that's something that we had to do. So obviously there was a disagreement there. Okay. So there were several disagreements, but this one is going to take the cake, people. This one is going to take the cake. When it pertains to certain SMCs, they get up to a high level like SMCL, another rater had to sign off on it. Okay. Other severing, somebody else had to sign off on it. So a rater and I had to do a second signature for this other rater. And I was like, I don't think you should be denying that. I think you should be granting it. No, it's a denial. So we're going back and forth. And so by this time we had a QRT person on our team, but we would have to make an appointment to go to them and ask them questions about a particular rating decision that we were working on. So we emailed her before we got there. So our appointment comes, we go, and she's smiling. And it was kind of weird because this particular QRT rep, well, she was a previous DRO as well. She never smiled, but she was smiling. So that scared me. All right. And you know what she told us? She just started smiling. She said, neither one of you are wrong. And we're like, what? Well, she wants to deny. I want to grant. And she was like, neither one of you are wrong. This particular regulation states that you can deny the benefit and you wouldn't get an error. This particular 38 CFR states that you can grant the benefit and you wouldn't get an error. And I'm like, this is the first time I heard that. And I was like, how is this possible? It's not, you won't see it a lot. Only in certain cases, it's very few times that you would see this. And so we looked at each other and she said, well, I'm going to grant the benefit. What's that 38 CFR again? And she went ahead and she granted the benefit and I signed off on it. Give you one more example because it's all starting to come back. I did a case for SMCL. Okay. So like I just said, certain SMCs, you had to have another rater sign off. Well, if you look at that 2680, it states that, or ask, can a veteran manage their financial affairs or medication or something like that? Well, you should know on the mental health DBQs, it also asks a similar question. Can the veteran manage their financial affairs? If the examiner says no, we have to do a proposal of incompetency. So in my mind, I'm thinking I had to do the same thing with SMCL, and this early on in my rating career. Okay. And so I take it to this other rater. I'm granting SMCL, but I'm also imposing competency because know that they couldn't manage their financial affairs was checked on that 2680. So the rater comes back and she said, I don't think you have to take issue or propose incompetency. I'm like, no. And I gave her that example I just gave you guys. And we went through the regulation. the regulations, we found it, and then we went and found a QRT person on our team, and they were like, "No, you don't have to take issue with incompetency. That's only on the mental health DBQs." And I was like, "Okay." So even though we disagreed, it wasn't a huge argument or anything like that. But again, people, the main question is, do VA employees, VSRs, RVSRs, DROs disagree? And the answer is yes. And I gave you some examples of how the veteran gets caught in the middle. Now, this nugget, what can you do as a veteran? Get educated. Understand, SMC criteria. Okay. I have a lot of videos out there as it pertains to SMCK, SMCS, SMCL. 9 times out of 10, when it comes to SMCS, special monthly compensation for housebound, most veterans never claim it. They just meet that scheduler criteria. Okay. So you won't know that you're caught in the middle. But if you see something that's maybe not right, whether it pertains to effective date, the percentage assigned, okay, grant or denial, that's where you start to delve into the 38 CFR, the -1, the -4, the -5, and that would help you put together your argument if you have to do a high-level review. All right. So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you. Don't be frustrated, get educated.